go. Now we're recording. It's time to dance, Connie.
When life gets tough and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be. I'll be right here. Right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the Lillian McDermott radio show, the purpose of the show is to provide a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth to a part of your everyday life. And I hope you, my listening friend, will feel empowered to learn a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, I want to encourage you that we have a doctor in the house, not just a doctor, but we have the White House doctor in the house. And if you have any questions, you can call 407-373-5959 or text 407-373-5959. Now, I have a question for you, my listening and viewing friends too, now on YouTube. Have you been under a lot of stress lately? There are many reasons. There's good stress, there's bad stress. It's all stress. And I wonder how you're dealing with your stress. Well, today we have Dr. Connie Mariano. She is the first Filipino American woman to become a Navy Rear Admiral and the White House physician for 3, not just 1, 3 sitting presidents, including President Clinton, which last time she came on, we talked a little bit about that time in her life. And you can tune in at whenyouneedafriend.com and you can listen to the show with Connie Mariano. But today, we're talking about stress. And talk about stress, I'm sure that was a very stressful time in her life as well. Dr. Mariano will share how we can understand, look at, and deal with stress in our life. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful to Dr. Connie Mariano because she is here to do just that. Welcome back, Dr. Connie, to the Lillian McDermott radio show.
Hi, Lily. It's a great honor to be back. You are actually, I think you and your show are good medicine for what's ailing people out there. You know, you talk about stress. You turn on the news and everything is a continuous flow of stress. Prayers for the people there in Florida and Texas, but also in Puerto Rico, I know, who have no electricity, they're just trying to clear out the damage. So it's everywhere. And if you're not in a hurricane or an earthquake like the people in Mexico, you have everyday stress, you know, and it's part of life. As a physician, I see it every day. It's rampant. And why do we have stress? Well, it's a survival technique. When we developed as human beings, the hormones in our body, epinephrine and cortisol, are our body's response to danger. And the dangers around us so that we don't get eaten by dinosaurs or we don't jump off cliffs or things like that are meant to protect us against harm. But because we live in a very complex age with ongoing 24/7 messages from all places, and there's a continual need to do so many things at once, and we have expectations. There's this pressure, this internal pressure that we feel as stress.
Absolutely. And so, you have seen a lot of stress in your life as a sitting white for 3 presidents. How stressful was that for you in your life? Share a little bit about your story and your background, Dr. Connie.
I got assigned to the White House as the White House physician under George Herbert Walker Bush. And then from there was asked to stay longer, actually for a year with him, and then 8 years with President Clinton, and then another 5 months with the last President Bush, so 9 years.
Wow.
And just watching them. But part of the stress was really trying to do your job to take care of them, always traveling, and being conscious of the dangers in their job, that they're always at risk for assassination and injury or illness.
And you've traded that to be there for people that are executives, for executives that are dealing with a high level of stress as well. Share a little bit about your practice.
Well, I have a concierge practice in Scottsdale, Arizona, with over 300 patients who think they are the President of the United States, but they have many stresses in their everyday life and their business, and I take care of them and their families.
So you see it over and over and how it can affect us in so many different ways. And that, my listening friends and viewing audience on YouTube and Facebook and all the places where people will be watching this and listening, you know, we all have stress. You don't have to be the President of the United States. And how you deal with that stress is so important. And so today, Dr. Connie Mariano, who has dealt with the largest and possibly the most critical ways that we can take care of somebody who is in charge of the entire United States, she's going to help us. And I am looking forward to learning how we can manage, take a look at, understand our own stress when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Now, this is like the extra bonus stuff, Dr. Connie, for my followers as we start building our audience in YouTube. This time that you were in the White House, how stressful was that for you? Because I know that the stress was when we talked last time, it affected your life, your entire life. Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Oh, absolutely. You live in it's an incubator of stress. I mean, when you get onto the White House compound, when you're in the vicinity of the presidential group, of the party there, it's continual stress because of the job, of the travel, of the expectations. And a lot of it is because we expect a lot of ourselves to perform well, but you're also on guard in the sense that the president is a target in many ways. One of the main reasons we do 24/7 coverage of the president is the risk of assassination. It isn't if he's assassinated or injured in office, it's when. That's one of the concerns of Secret Service. And the medical unit at the White House, which is a full military group of physicians, nurses, nurse practitioners, PAs, medics, travel with the president everywhere he goes. And so should he have a heart attack, should he be injured, we are the first responders at that scene.
But that stress kind of went from, you're doing such wonderful work with the president and serving your country, but it also affected your personal life.
Oh, absolutely. You always bring the work home. You're never off. I was gone, the first year I was with President Clinton, I traveled a third of that time. I was gone from home. I would come home late at night or early in the morning and my kids would be asleep. And then I leave in the morning and they're asleep. So I saw them most of the time they were asleep. So when I started that job, my little boys were 3 and 5. They were 12 and 14 when I left.
Wow.
You miss seeing them. You miss that part of life. And so my husband at that time stayed home and raised the children.
Yeah. And so, and that itself was not, and you said that your husband at the time. So that means that he is no longer your husband today. So it's like a cascade, isn't it? So when Brian is ready. So we're going to go back on the air. So here we go. You get the extra bonus. Time to dance, Dr. Connie.
You can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn from one another. And today's teacher is Dr. Connie Mariano. She is the White House doctor. That's where you can find her at whitehousedoctor.com, because the doctor is in the house. Now, today we're talking about stress with Dr. Connie Mariano. And off the air, we were having a conversation about how stress has affected her. If you want to listen to or watch this video, you can go to whenyouneedafriend.com, click on YouTube, and it'll take you right there. Dr. Connie, stress is like a cascade. It's not just what's happening to me now. It's what's happening to me later or prior to, how it's going to affect me, how it affects my entire life, the people around me, because we all send out these frequencies, and these frequencies are received by people around us as well, and it affects everything. So let's talk about stress and how stress affects us.
It's the anticipation of the worst outcome, I think, in a lot of people. Unless you can see an immediate danger, our minds focus on negative things. And I'll talk to people and they'll say, I am so stressed. And they'll talk about all aspects about what they hear in the news, things in their family. But a lot of the worries that come up are things that they imagine may happen, potential things. And I have patients who constantly worry about their health. And they said, oh, I know I sound like a hypochondriac. And I said, well, tell me what you're worrying. Well, I might have this disease. I might have this. And then you go on the internet and they Google all this stuff. And then they look at everything. So they're my internet doctors. They diagnose it based on the internet. And they come in with a list of all those symptoms and say, I must have this. And so our job is to convince them they don't. But it's the games our minds play where they think it's the worst case scenario. What if, the what ifs? And the what ifs can kill you. They raise your blood pressure. They make people drink. They make people overeat. What if they don't like me? What if I'm a failure? What if? And I think a lot of times we don't breathe. We don't breathe when we think of those things. We don't stop, take a deep breath, and center ourselves in the now. And there's a whole body of philosophy and treatment we call mindfulness, in which people meditate. And they focus on what we're experiencing now instead of what potentially may be and may never happen. And when they do go through those events they worried about, they go, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. It never happened. Those things never happen. What a sigh of relief. But then you go into that what if, the what if. So part of it is trying to avoid getting into that mind frame of the what ifs and focus on what is happening now. What am I grateful for? The things that didn't happen, and then taking each day as it comes.
Isn't it interesting, and I've said this before on the show, that life is 1% fact and 99% made up. It's all fiction. We all make it up. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you not just focused on the worst case scenario, but what if it works out?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You would be more positive, more optimistic, more eager and to enjoy life and the zest for life. For a lot of my patients, I am their last doctor. I'm the one who signs their death certificate. So I see them when we enroll them in hospice. We're at the end of their life. And they look back, and there are those who regret, gee, I wish I hadn't worried so much about all these things, because it really doesn't matter. I wish I had enjoyed my life more. I wish I had spent more time with my family. I wish I didn't worry as much about all those things that never happened.
Yeah. And so let's go there with these regrets, because many times our bodies know that we're living in regret, and they're trying to align our spirit so that our intention is more aligned with what we really truly want. So let's talk about the signs and symptoms of stress. How does stress affect our body? I know we talked a little bit of how it affected your marriage, how it affected your life. Can you imagine? I'm surprised you're not diving on people when you're walking down the street, because of the conditioning of being in the White House. So let's talk about, what should we look at? What are the signs that we can say, I might be stressed?
Absolutely. I see it every day in practice. I ask people, how are you sleeping at night? And they'll say, well, I have trouble falling asleep. I have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. And one of the signs is you just can't shut off your mind. And I think because we're so connected with our phones, our iPhones, social media, I tell people, do not keep looking at your emails, stop checking emails, block off an hour before you go to sleep at night.
An hour, Dr. Connie, I don't have that hour.
Try to wean yourself off it. I know, I'm just as bad. I have it right beside my bed in case patients need me, right? So, but part of it is we don't want to let go. So you have to start getting into the practice of logging off at night so you can finally get some sleep. The other thing is they present with high blood pressure because they're always tense. They're always in anticipation of something bad. People compensate for their stress by overeating. Their drug of choice could be alcohol, if they're very much into alcohol, or could be in terms of overeating. It could be candy, it could be salt, it could be just copious amounts of food that comfort them, anything that provides comfort. And so they'll do that. And
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things that you'll come in, they'll say, why did I gain 10 pounds? I think I'm eating more sweets because that makes me feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Or my patients who struggle with alcoholism, and you talk about it, they said, well, I have to drink. That's the only way I can relax at the end of the day. And so we talk about that.
Wow. So if you find in yourself wanting to numb, there's a potential that you could be stressed, or maybe there's something that you don't want to deal with. Could constantly ignoring the truth in your life, because that's a full-time job when you're trying to be oblivious as to the reality of your life. Could that cause stress in your body? Could your brain and your body be trying to speak with you and out of alignment?
I think so. I think when you cannot be your true authentic self, your body is in disconnect. The mask we wear every day to show people is different from who we are inside. And there was a 15-year-old young boy who asked me one time after I gave a talk about being our true authentic selves. He goes, how do I know if I'm being my true authentic self? And the thought that came into my mind was, when you no longer have to pretend, because people have different masks, and you'll see it on Facebook. There'll be people who post, everything is wonderful, life is great, it's perfect, I'm traveling, it's great. And then you find out they just went through a divorce and they don't talk about it because they don't want to post that. And I hope they have a friend that they can talk to, like you, to share that and to do that. But it is the disconnect between who you truly are with what you want the world to see.
That's good. It's so funny. We compare our interior to the exterior of others.
Mm-hmm.
It's like comparing an apple with a broom.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even belong in the same species, so to speak. Not even the apple to an orange, because we think that we're the only one. And as a life coach, I know you're a doctor and you'll trump me every time, but as a life coach, and I listen to people and I hear them saying things, and I'm thinking, whoa, that is not, the way that we hurt ourselves, the way that we think that our life, we're the only ones experiencing fill in the blank. We're not. We're all one, and we're all connected, and that's disconnect. So when you see someone who is truly disconnected from themselves, they don't take that out. I will tell you though, Dr. Connie, I have thrown out my phones. My phones are not in my bedroom. There is no phone in there.
Good for you.
Yes, I have done that. But I have found, because I have so many different things I do, that I finish my job and I go to bed. And
You're exhausted.
I'm exhausted. I do need to. I'm going to see if I can give myself that hour. That's a great little tip. But so if we are truly taking a good look at ourselves, and we're seeing the signs and symptoms, but we can't stop, what would be a good, 2x4 that you can warn us with, hit us on the head with it? What should we do?
I think you find out, you realize, am I really happy? Am I being joyful? I mean, is this really fun anymore? We're, in a lot of ways, we lose the childhood quality to be joyful and to be playful. And you know, the ideal job is something that's play for you. I mean, you love what you do. You obviously love what you do.
I do.
As a life coach, and you love what you do with your radio show and helping people. I love what I do as a physician.
Sure.
I love the stories and I love using the science, but I love connecting with people. And I think when you feel deep down, it's tough to get up every morning to go to a job that you don't like. It's when you want to avoid it. It's there when there's a stressful situation, you don't want to go there. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't want to go into that room where you think people are going to pick on you or criticize you. You don't want to get up that Monday morning to go to a job that you hate. Then that's like, oh, okay. So why do you do it? I'm not a psychiatrist, but in a lot of ways I say, listen, maybe I can be your coach as well. As a physician, I can listen in because people go, I don't want to go to a therapist. I'm not crazy. It doesn't mean you're crazy. It means you just need additional help hear from a professional. So they will tell me, I get up every morning. Monday morning or Sunday night is the worst. And I go, why? Because I don't know. I can't sleep. And I go, well, how do you feel about going to work on Monday? I don't know. I would rather call in sick. Already, it's a sign. That's a big sign. You don't want to go to work.
But isn't that the body honoring her when she says, I'd rather call in sick? The body is honoring her or him by becoming sick.
Exactly. When you're under constant stress, what happens? You get sick a lot because your immune system is under constant stress and barrage. So the white cells in your body that fight infection don't work as well. So isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. It's Mother Nature's way to get your attention. How do you get your attention? You get sick, right? You stay home, you stay in bed, you're realizing, oh man, and then makes you think, what's going on? You know, maybe that working all those hours isn't good for me. Maybe I should get some more sleep. So in the end, Mother Nature wins.
You know, the body never forgets. We might want to neglect what we want to know, but the body, the gut, and its constant communication, the heart, the gut, and the mind, they're so connected. They won't let us lie to ourselves. It's amazing. And so I know that there are so many different ways that we can test to see, how do I know this isn't a huge illness? This is something that perhaps we can talk about when we come back from the break, which is, how do we know that what we're experiencing is symptoms of stress versus an illness? And so this is what we're going to continue to talk about with Dr. Connie Mariano. The doctor is in the house, the White House doctor. And we're going to continue our conversation worldwide about stress. And if you have any questions, 407-373-5959 of Dr. Connie Mariano, the White House doctor, when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you.
I'll be right here waiting for you.
Okay, so as we go into our next segment, I'm going to, So I know we're going to talk about this when we get back. I want to talk about how we rule out disease. But I also want to ask you, I want to say congratulations on your show. I got to hear your podcast. How many shows have you done?
I'm doing my third show today.
Yes.
And actually, I started this about 4 years ago. My husband purchased it as a gift, and I did 13 episodes 4 years ago, then took a break because there was just so much activity going on in my practice. But I brought it back because of all the negativity that was going on in the world. It was my way to contribute to positivity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love doing the show because of that. There's so much out there when you go, and I had someone said, oh, you look at life with rosy color. And I said, well, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Why would
negative?
Why is being a realist anything that can go wrong? Why can't being a realist be both 50-50? Let me look at my consequences. Let me look at what could go right. Let me look at what can go wrong. Because if I only look at what could go wrong, I'm setting myself up for failure.
Yeah. You choose to be positive. It's a decision you make. You could be miserable and say, okay, everything's horrible, but then it colors your life. It colors your interactions with people. And there's a lot of rough things, but I choose, sure, there's good and there's bad, but I choose things that are positive and uplifting. That is my decision. You know, people die, we all die. Okay, so what do you do in your life? And I also believe in an afterlife and what happens there. But what do we do in this life that we can lift people up and help them? I mean, that's my goal. That's your goal.
Yeah. And, you know, the thoughts in our head, I do want to talk about that when we go back on the air, and how those thoughts just keep going. It's like what do you call that? A tumbleweed? What is that?
A tumbleweed that rolls and gets bigger and bigger,
bigger
right?
and bigger. Yeah. So I want to talk about that when we get back on the air. But, you know, as we look at life, there's so much, like you said, there's so much negative. And when I was first asked to do the show, can you believe it? It's almost 7 years, 6.5 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Great.
And now, Dr. Connie, now we are in Jacksonville, the Jacksonville area. So we're now on the Biz, WDBO, and this is both AM, FM, and of course WMEL, which is in the Brevard County on 1510. So terrestrially, you can hear me South Georgia, Northeast, North and South Carolina on the coast, all the way down North Florida, all the way down to Tampa, and then on the East Coast, all the way from the North Florida, all the way to West Palm Beach. So
congratulations. Great.
Grown a lot since you've been on the show.
Great. So yeah, I'll have to interview you on my show and talk about talking the talk.
You know, I just wrote an article. I just wrote an article in Florida Today because I also write. I wrote an article called "Be Who You Say You Are."
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw your interview. Didn't you interview? Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You commented. That was so sweet of you.
That was really nice. That was a good article. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been writing for them for 2 years.
Good.
And so I'm not just a life coach. I actually have a marketing company. I work with doctors and attorneys. And so it's the stresses that I see, just like you see people with a lot of stress. And sometimes, you know, how do you keep from that stress going into your body?
How do you keep, you know, part of it is saying what's important now. You know, I acknowledge I get stressed all the time, but the thing is, how do you channel it? Because the hormones and the chemicals and the things your body experiences could be good or bad stress, right? I mean, you win the lottery. Oh, that's exciting. You have a new grandchild. I'm excited. My epinephrine's up. I'm excited. Or you can be stressed in terms of you're dreading something, you're worried. So part of that is, what do you do with those chemicals that are evoked in times of stress? And it's your mindset. You can say, I can be excited or I can be afraid. Am I going to be afraid of something bad? Or can I be excited and channel it into something that is an activity that's positive? I usually like to plan things, say, okay, I want to work on these problems. I love calendaring. I will schedule it and calendar. Okay, I'm going to work on it here. I'll put it on my calendar. Okay, then I've delegated. I've handled it. I put it away. I've sort of filed it away. I think a lot of things that float around in our psyche, we haven't filed them away, and they keep popping up, and we haven't dealt with them. And say, how do I deal with this? You know, you talk to your life coach, you talk to a therapist, you talk to a psychiatrist. These issues keep popping up. I need to deal with it. I haven't filed it away in some category in my mind where it keeps resurfacing. Why does it keep popping up? I haven't dealt with it yet.
Very good. Now we're getting ready to go back on the air. So I see Mr. Brian has given us the cue. It's time to dance.
You can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the radio show, where you can hear us worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. I am your host, Lillian McDermott, and it is my goal that we learn from each other, learn a new truth. There was a time they thought the earth was flat, and somewhere along the way said, no, it might be. Please consider that it might be something different. So today and always on the Lillian McDermott radio show, we learn a maybe a new perspective, how somebody else is viewing something. It's not going to be an attack on who you are or your belief system. Just be open to consider that there may be other ways that you can solve an issue or look at your life. And if you are ready to take this kind of responsibility, which, by the way, the word responsibility has such a bum rap. Many people look at responsibility as fault, shame, duty. But the reality is that when you are blaming somebody else, you're giving your power away. If you take your life back, that is, no matter what has happened in your life, that is responsibility that leads to empowerment and freedom. And if you're ready for that, join us for the conversation, the community at whenyouneedafriend.com. That's where you need to go to. It's a 2-step process. So make sure once you become a subscriber, you confirm and check out, because once you become a subscriber, this is what you get. You get access to my Mind, Body, Spirit, Positive Affirmation audio link and my 90-day challenge to self-love ebook. But that's not all. The show gets delivered right to your phone or your tablet. Wow. And this is all free. Where can you go and get this kind of information? You're not going to get this information in the media because it's not profitable. And so I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, become a subscriber, and grow with me. Grow with me on Instagram at Lillian McDermott, at Twitter, Lillian MCD, on Facebook.com/Lillian's Radio Show. And you can also grow with me on podcasts, iTunes, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio. We are growing, and I am glad that you are joining me on this ride. Call or leave a message or text me, 407-373-5959. Now, today we are talking to the White House doctor, Dr. Connie Mariano, who, I'm telling you, talk about stress. You live stress, Connie, Dr. Connie, 24/7. And it wasn't just like in your mind. You had to believe that the president of the United States was going to be assassinated at any moment.
Well, you're always prepared for that. That's the reason we care. You know, you have Secret Service, you have the medical unit there. So that's the worst case scenario that can happen. And you're thankful it doesn't. You know, you're thankful that once the tour of office is done and you go to the next president, that president survived 4 to 8 years in office and your job's well done. But it's the ongoing travel, the being away from home. There's no balance. It's all work. There's very little personal life that you have. You're always constantly traveling. One of the things that resonated with me that you were talking about was the responsibility. Because we all take on that. A lot of us take on more responsibility. And I think it really makes sense to me that it shouldn't get a bum rap. It should be empowering. Yes. There's a statement, somebody would say, you're not the boss of me, I'm the boss of me. Mm-hmm. And when you say I'm responsible, you're the boss of yourself. And that's sort of a cool thing. That's actually feels good to know that. But then the thing that's challenging is, how do I manage the stress that comes at me? Can I do all the things I promised to do? And so part of it is being good to yourself. How good are we to ourselves?
Yes, that's the be who you say you are. If you're going to do it, say you're going to do it. But if you have no intention, say that too. Don't say, I'll try. You know, I hate the word try, Dr. Connie. When somebody says to me, I'll try, I hear in my head, I have no intention of doing what I just said I'm going to do. I just want to look good right now. That's how I think, Dr. Connie. When somebody, that word to me, try, nah.
It's trying.
It is a trying word. Yeah. So here's the thing. Many of us live under the stress and the belief, remember that 1% fact and the 99% made up, that when something happens to me, maybe you violated my trust, maybe you violated me in any way, that I need to hold on to that and blame you for the way my life is today. Yes, we may not have chosen what has happened to us, but we can choose how we respond. That is responsibility.
Absolutely. It's how you respond. People can say the worst things about you, do things to you, but how do you react? It's how you act. It's how you react in turn. You take
Absolutely.
responsibility. You don't have to treat them the same way. I always say you fight fire with water.
Ah, I love that.
When that happens, it's like, oh my gosh. When people think you're going to yell back, I just soften my voice. When they start speaking over me, I just stop talking and just let them get it out of their system.
But how do you get it out? How do you get that? I think it's Eckhart Tolle who calls it a pain body. When somebody's pain body, that outburst or whatever they're doing, it permeates. Sometimes people are receivers of that. And all of a sudden you're carrying it for them.
Yeah.
How do you keep yourself when you quiet yourself, or when you speak softer? How do you keep from that staying in you? What do you do to get it out?
I think a lot of it is with your faith and believing in a higher power and God, and saying, I pray a lot. It's a 6-mile drive from my house to my office. So I spend 6 miles in silence, not listening to the radio, but just looking around, being in my car, focusing in my little space, and being grateful for the things that I have, including the challenges that come my way. I'm getting these problems sent to me because God's giving me the opportunity to solve them. How am I going to solve them? With anger, with hatred? No, with kindness and with being positive. How can I be productive to doing that? That is my choice to do that.
That's a wonderful awareness, Dr. Connie. So before we went on the break, I said to you, okay, we already know stress causes disease, but how do we know it's not the disease that's looking like stress? Is that possible?
Oh, very linked. Mind, body are very close together. And once a year, I tell my patients, you got to have a complete exam with me.
Okay.
And I'm very fortunate to I can block 2 hours to see them. And we order a lot of studies. Obviously the usual things for women, they get their mammography, men get their prostate exams. We order their colonoscopies, but in the blood work, I do a complete metabolic panel, electrolytes, kidney function, liver function tests, blood count. I check thyroid function. I check something called sedimentation rate, which measures inflammatory markers. And then I listen very closely. Most of my visits with my patients, I just listen. I ask them, tell me what's going on in your life. I look at their complaints, because I always say, what medical condition can do this? And then my job, if I really think, boy, it sounds like it's stress, okay, because there's stress everywhere. I think this is more mind over body, mind over matter. My job is to prove to them, gee, it's not your thyroid. You don't have cancer. It's not a heart attack. And people will say, oh, I feel something in my chest. I think I'm having a heart attack. And you find out it's panic attacks. But our job as physicians is to make sure it isn't truly what those things
Worst
are.
case scenario.
Exactly. You have to reassure them, and you have to educate them. And at that point, say, what is causing these panic attacks? How can we help you find out the source and then treat that? They still suffer, even though it's in their mind, they're still suffering, and that's something we need to help them with.
Well, let's talk about those thoughts, because first it's a thought, then the thought becomes a feeling, and then that feeling becomes an action. And so how do you help your patients nip it in the thought?
Oh, that's a great term, nip it in the thought. A lot of it, I have the advantage, I know them, their family, their spouses, what they do in their lifestyle. So we try to dissect out those things and their worries and their fears. I say, at the basis of this, what do you fear? Because a lot of them are really tough CEO types. I don't fear anybody. I said, no, there's something inside. Or they're replaying tapes from their childhood where somebody, like a parent, told them they were never good enough over and over again, common theme. So we try to go through that. And I have some very good therapist friends here in town who I refer them to, who do life coaching and who have been very good. So I said, you're not crazy. You're human. I'd like to send you to one of my psychiatrist friends or my life coach friends or my psychologist friends, and I think they can help you. And I refer them to them.
There was a time in my life that a diagnosis was more important to me than the actual how do I treat it, because I thought you could take a pill. And as you know, my registered service mark is you can take a pill, you can take responsibility. And it's not that I am against pills, is that I'm for doing whatever it takes, digging. We have Dr. Richard Horowitz that comes on the show. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yes.
So,
Lyme disease?
Yes.
I heard him speak in Arizona. He's brilliant.
Yes. Well, he's a regular. He's a regular on the show.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Anyway, he says that his MD really stands for medical detective.
Good name. He's a great speaker, and he's helped so many people with Lyme. And that's a whole different thing on your show with him about chronic Lyme disease. Absolutely.
Yes. And next time he's coming on next week, and we're going to talk about sleep and how to achieve good sleep hygiene.
Great. Wonderful.
But for now, we're talking to Dr. Connie Mariano, the White House doctor, and we're going to continue our conversation about how to deal with stress when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Yeah, I'm really excited. He's been on my show probably now going on the 4th or 5th time. And he's made a commitment. Yeah. I'm glad you know him. Huh?
How did you know him? How did you meet him?
You know what? I got his book. It was sent to me by his PR person or whatever. Maybe they've worked with us before. And that book sat on my shelf in my office for like 3 months. I didn't have time because, you know,
it's a big book.
It is a big book. Well, I interview Monday through Saturday now, because now I have a show on Saturday that airs. It's a huge monster station, and it sat there. But the public, the guy kept talking to Ashley, and Ashley kept in my ear, like, you know, Mommy, when are you going to interview? Have you decided? I'm like, I don't know. Let me do some research. And I just vacillated for like 3 or 4 months. And finally I had him on the show, and I'm like, my gosh, I'm so glad that he was on.
Did he broadcast live with you, or from New York where he is? Or
yeah, we do like we're doing with you. I mean, you're in California. No, you're in Arizona. And and he's in New York, and so it's very rare now, unless they're a local. I don't need to be at the state. Yeah. I'm here in my office / guest bedroom. So if you ever come over, this is where you would stay.
Oh, okay. If you ever come out here.
That's right. You just have to walk away from 8 to 9 in the morning, because that's when we do the recording. Yeah.
Well, if you come out here, we'd like to do it in the studio, surrounded by egg crates. But it's fun.
I love it. Fly me in, and I'll be right there.
Well, I'll reach out to him too. I'll do a segment on Lyme disease, because I see a lot of patients who I really suspect have chronic Lyme, and it's been very difficult to diagnose, and there's a lot of controversy about the diagnosis of it in this country.
Well, you know, I love the fact that you are keeping yourself current, and you don't just prescribe the pill, that you listen. You have the luxury that many doctors don't have today, which is to spend 2 hours with your patient.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the time you spend is part of the therapy, really. It's that touch, the connection. My job is everybody who comes into my office leaves and they're smiling and they feel better. And I tell my staff, you're part of that connection. You're part of that therapy. Your human contact is important.
Very good. Very good. Well, I see I'm getting a cue that we're about to go back on the air, Dr. Connie. This is our last segment, so we got to make this dance really last long. Okay, so here we go.
Right here waiting for you.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the Lillian Radio Show. We always learn from one another. And today's teacher is Dr. Connie Mariano. She is the White House doctor. You go to whitehouse.doctor.com to learn more about how she's doing. Before we finish the segment, I want to say congratulations to you. We've been talking off the air. And if you, my listening friend, or my viewing, if you go to whenyouneedafriend.com, click on YouTube, you'll be able to see Connie and listen to our conversations that happen off the air. And so I just wanted to say congratulations to Dr. Connie for having her own radio show. She is on Voice America Empowerment Channel. I love that already. Dr. Connie Mariano is broadcasting every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So how do we just go to your website, Dr. Connie, and click on Listen Live? How do we listen to your podcast?
Actually, go on the Voice America Network, and you can click onto that, or you can go onto Facebook under White House Doctor, and there's a link there that you can click on to that website.
Very
under
good.
Channel.
Congratulations on that.
Thanks for that plug.
Yeah, of course. I'm hoping to be on that show one day.
Absolutely, we'll get you on.
Okay, so we talked about thoughts and nipping it in the thought section right there. Nip it in the thought. Let's focus on some tips, because we know how to be stressed. We know that intuitively, instinctively. We think about the worst case scenario. You've mentioned gratitude a couple times, mindfulness a couple times. Let's talk about steps and how that we can make the responsible choice to work our way out of the stress and into loving ourselves.
Part of it is believing I'm not going to beat myself up anymore. Accepting that responsibility. It isn't about the blame game. The blame game doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Be responsible. I'm gonna choose to be positive and be constructive with this, and not blame people about what's happening, and assume my part and my role in this. I think the other thing that comes to mind with stress is when we're stressed, we don't breathe. We get uptight, and a lot of my folks who do the mindfulness say, I just focus on breathing. They tell you, stop what you're doing, take a deep breath and relax and just breathe out that tension. And meditation is important as well, is to sit and meditate for 20 minutes a day, meaning you're not being distracted by calls or emails or your phone, but just to sit quietly. And how often can we do that, to sit quietly and uninterrupted? It's really tough nowadays, isn't it? Unless you're sitting in a bathroom somewhere. I see people in the bathrooms that are in their stall and they're sending emails sitting on the toilet. So it's really
not even the bathroom is sacred?
No, there's no sacred place.
I tell you what.
Just find that time to sit quietly and just let your minds float in and then ease out the negative ones.
So what is your sanctuary, Dr. Connie?
Believe it or not, it's in the cockpit of our airplane. My husband flies a turboprop called a TBM 930, and we love flying it. It's just the two of us on that plane. And being in that cockpit, flying with him, my phone is off. I don't check email. We listen to the air traffic controllers, but they're so squared away. I love listening to their voices. Otherwise, we look at the scenery, we look at the sky, and it's just the two of us in that little pocket of privacy. It's very peaceful for us. That's my little space.
Ah, man, I wish I had something as exotic as that. My sanctuary is my bathroom.
Probably a nice bathroom.
Well, no, it's what you make of it. I mean, it's just, I've got a candle, I got my journal, I've got, and first thing in the morning, the house is quiet. That's my sanctuary. That's my moment. There's nobody, no cockpit.
Good for you.
But you know what? I like your sanctuary better. I'd like to swap one day. We can do it like one of those shows, those reality shows. Cockpit swap. Except you wouldn't get the cockpit. You'd just get a regular airplane. Okay, so those are great tips and breathing. So like what I'd like to do for our YouTube and for our people that want to view, I say YouTube, but this will be on Facebook as well. But I would like for you to give us some techniques. But for those that are listening today and they're consumed with thoughts, you had mentioned throughout the broadcast that if you're having a trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, that's a sign of stress. In a situation like that, could that be also a sign that there are some supplements that might be needed in your body?
Absolutely. There are some healthy supplements that people can try. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan of sleeping pills.
No.
I also make sure among my patients they don't have sleep apnea as a cause. So if they're having very much interrupted sleep, we check for a pulse oximetry, and I refer them to sleep specialists to rule out sleep apnea. You got to make sure they don't have that. But if it's related to anxiety or stress, I usually will prescribe melatonin if that helps. My friend Daniel Amen has a really nice sleep supplement that has magnesium, valerian root, melatonin, and it's called Restful Sleep. You can get it online. And my husband takes 4 of those capsules every day at bedtime, and he relaxes, and it doesn't make you hungover, and he feels pretty sharp in the morning. I'm very fortunate. I'm like you. I just collapse. I'm exhausted. Then I get deep sleep, and I wake up. So
no, I wake up in the middle of the night. Sometimes, I think it's because I've been conditioned to wake up, and I'll get a couple hours, and I'm just like ready to go. I am refreshed, ready to go. But then I pay for it later. I'm like a zombie.
Do you take a nap? You get a nap in?
Not really. I would have to be really, really dragging. There's so many things that when I write things down, Dr. Connie, and you had mentioned that you got to file it away. When I file it away, that's when I can rest.
Good.
So let's talk about filing it away. What does filing it away mean to you? How does it look?
When you get disturbing thoughts popping up or memories that pop up, all of a sudden, like, where did that come from? You have like a flashback of some event, including the emotional content. You haven't dealt with it yet. You haven't filed it away in your emotional lockbox, wherever. We have events that we compartmentalize in our psyche and our mind. And when these things come popping up, we haven't filed them away. We haven't put them away or dealt with them or accepted them perhaps or forgiven somebody. And that's the time to get some work done with a life coach or a therapist to say, these things keep bothering me. I guess I haven't gotten over those. And how do I do that so that I can move on with my life and not have these things keep coming up and bothering me?
Interesting, as you were saying those things and I was listening to you, one thing that has changed within me, I thought that the diagnosis was the cause, that was the reason. But now I understand that how we deal with things, again, we may not have chosen what has happened to us, but how we deal with that could sometimes be the cure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so when you see somebody that's doing the work on themselves and you're talking to them, they're not open to it and they want the pill. What are your thoughts about someone who refuses? Because it's a mind, body, spirit connection. And if you're just treating one aspect, the body, with a pill, what's your next step?
You can give them chemicals, you can give them pills to try to alter it, but then they have to understand, what do I do with this information now that I'm less anxious, less stressed? So they still have to do the mind work. And I tell them there's side effects with the meds. They may not work. They may make them worse. And I said, you still have to do the mind work so that your mind accepts what happens and then you move on. And working with your behavior and your thoughts regarding that. And that takes longer. We can chemically alter you, but your mind still believes those things the way they were before. And in order to heal, you've got to go through that painful part, and then accept it and then allow the healing to begin after that.
Well, I tell you what, Dr. Connie, I'm looking forward to our next conversation. It's always such a joy to have you on the Lillian McDermott radio show, and I'm looking forward to learning more about your successful career as a radio host personality, as well as but I want to thank you for sharing how we can take control of our lives and our stress. So thank you very much, Dr. Connie.
My pleasure. Thanks, Lillian. Thanks so much.
And to you, my listening friend, good stress, bad stress, it's all stress. You may not choose what happens, but how you choose to deal with it. That's the magic spot right there. And I wish you, my listening friend, love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job. Okay, so the mics are off the air, and Dr. Connie, oh, how wonderful to be able to have you as a doctor. So I'm sure that these CEOs are very lucky to have you as a partner.
Well, I'm lucky to have them. They actually add to my life. There's always people who come in. I needed to hear their message when they come in. I think God comes to us in different ways. you mentioned Horowitz. I need to reach out to him and talk to him because I have family members who struggle with chronic Lyme, and he is the expert in this country, in the world, on chronic Lyme disease.
Yeah, and he's really taking off. This is his second book, and he's really taking off. And the last time he was on the show with me, he had a nice little hairdo, and I think it was NBC or CBS. Somebody, I'll have to look at my notes. Somebody was going to come see him, and Netflix was doing a segment. So he's going to be on a Netflix, like a documentary.
I got to check it out for him.
Yeah. But Dr. Horowitz. And as a matter of fact, I just went to, have you heard of Dr. Mona Lisa Scholes?
No. Tell me about her.
Well, he had said something, and I thought, well, Dr. Mona Lisa Scholes has been on my show, and she does a radio show for Hay House. I don't know if you're familiar with Hay House. But she does so she's done she does a radio show. I don't know how long she's been doing it, but you call in, give her your name, your age, and what area of concern in your body that you have, and she can tell you what the emotional aspect is.
Is she intuitive healer?
She's a medical intuitive.
Oh, wow.
And Dr. Horowitz had said something, and I was gonna be going to her workshop. I just went. It's an intense boot camp on medical intuition. Although I'm not a doctor or anything, anyone you can go to learn about her technique. And he had said something, and I went, have you ever heard of Dr. Mona Lisa Scholes? And he said, yeah. I just went to I went to one of her boot camps, and I went, I'm going to that.
I have to go to. I'm going to sign up too. Where does she have them?
Well, she's now living. I'll let you know, and let me know when you're coming because I want to be a part of it. She's in Maine, Mona Lisa Scholes, and she is moving to Florida, and she's going to start doing all her workshops in Florida.
Oh, great!
Yeah, so I'm hoping to see you then. Yes.
Your friend who lives at the where's the Villages? How far is that from you? That's a little bit.
The Villages is about, as a matter of fact, my Saturday show is heard in the Villages. And so the Villages is about maybe a 2.5 hour drive from me. It's not that far.
Well, the gal I interviewed on my Resilience show, Suzanne Giesman, who is the medium, evidential medium.
Oh, was she good?
Oh, she was excellent, but she will not channel on the air. She does individual sessions, but it's Suzanne Giesman, and it's Giessemann, and she's an evidential medium, but she was in the Navy when I was in the Navy and saw the towers fall, 9/11, the Pentagon, and she has an incredible story of the afterlife.
Wow.
She's the afterlife. She's my afterlife connection. So
is she really?
She's the real deal. She really is.
Good.
But it's interesting how all those people are all connected. But I have to check out the boot camp with Mona Lisa.
Yeah. Well, let me know. I can connect you to her. As a matter of fact, she's supposed to come back on. She will listen. She took 2 callers last time she was on my show. Yeah. And I picked them. I handpicked them because I wanted to make sure that she was who she says she is. Yeah. And so when we had my 2 people that were on the show, I said, would you like to speak to them? She goes, nope, I don't want to talk to them.
Don't tell me, right.
Don't tell me, I don't want to talk to them. And let me tell you, to the T, huh?
Really?
Yeah, you can listen to it. Listen to the show.
And she's a physician, right?
She is an MD. She's an MD PhD. She's a behavioral science. I can't remember her degree, but she's neurologist, behavioral science, and she's got an MD PhD. She did them both at the same time.
Fascinating. I'll have to check her out. We're recording. I forgot we were recording. Okay.
But anyway, let me say, just hold on a second here. Let me just say thank you to all our viewers today. Thank you to Dr. Connie Mariano, for being such a wonderful guest. And we look forward to growing together. Let me say goodbye.